For the next hour, you're listening to the Classic Auto Mall podcast, broadcast from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Classic Auto Mall is a world-class facility conveniently located just an hour west of Philadelphia on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. The building is over 336,000 square feet and is full of over 650 classics for sale and 300 barn finds on display. Check out all the inventory on the website, classicautomall.com. If you have any questions for our host or guest, email us at podcast@classicautomall.com. Now on to the show with our host, the president of Classic Auto Mall, Stuart Howden.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning to all. And it's a rainy, dreary day in Morgantown, PA, but you know what? We'll get through it. It's been sunny most every other day that we've done this show. So
it's foggy. It's soupy out
there.
It's
foggy. It's very Londonish. You know, we need music. We're awfully dry at the beginning here.
We'll get it.
I'm working with a unknown, I can't mention who it is, musician who's going to hopefully give us rights to use a song, and we're just waiting to get the green light from them, and hopefully that'll happen in the next couple of weeks.
It's not Bruce Springsteen.
It's not Born in the USA. You know, it's one of those things that it seems easy and it sounds easy when you do all this and you think, well, we'll just do a podcast and we need to get music. Well, getting music is tough, and there's all the different things that are tough and interesting about this, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, we had so much fun last week with our guest, Harry Hurst, who has the glory days of racing, and great guy. And we talked, I don't know, we were here for another 2 hours. Just
right. I made the mistake of not running the camera during the time you guys were talking after the show, because it was in a whole other show after.
Right, exactly. You know, it's funny how you just keep going, and an hour, you look at Joe Rogan, who does podcasts, and they're 3 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
You think, how can he do that?
Exactly.
But if you've got a guest who's, you know, you can talk to and you're comfortable with, and you have a lot of commonality, and especially the historical stuff that Harry knew from the racing scene from the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, that was an amazing trip down memory lane of things that we remember and reading about. And speaking of racing, sad news. You know, we keep giving sad news.
It's true.
Here. Al Unser Sr. passed last week. 4-time Indy 500 winner. He was an amazing driver. Very soft-spoken, they said, until he got in the car, and then he wasn't so soft-spoken. But he was an amazing driver. He was one of 4 drivers who have won the Indianapolis 500 4 times. A.J. Foyt was another one. Rick Mears and Elio Castroneves,
right.
just this past year, won for the 4th time, and 4-time winners. That's a pretty exclusive club to be in. Not to mention that in 1970, he won 10 of the 18 IndyCar races.
Wow.
I mean, how does that? That's really dominating. I mean, that's kind of like what we were seeing from the Formula One guys back in the day. But anyway, lost a 17-year battle with cancer. He had retired in 1994, and he is also known because he's the father of Al Jr., Al Unser Jr.,
right.
who has a new book coming out called A Checkered Past.
Nice.
No pun on words. Checkered meaning checkered flag, and also meaning some other things that he's very candid about in the book. I haven't read the book yet, but you know,
maybe he'll come on and talk about it.
Yeah, let's get him on. Can you work on that, Ethan or Steve?
Yep.
All right, make sure we make these things happen, because when I think it should just happen, right? Tomorrow, right away. I'd like to have a call from his people, but you know, we can always have him on. We have three different ways that we can have guests on our show: physically here, through the telephone system, which sounds a little bit like this when we're talking to them. And then we're going to do it really cool when we have them on a meeting.
StreamYard.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of like Zoom that everybody knows about those kind of meetings. So it'll be really cool. But anyway, hate to lose a great racing hero like Al Unser Jr. We certainly enjoyed watching him through the years, and condolences to him and his family and everybody that was a big fan of his. And there was a lot of big fans of the early 70s, late 60s of IndyCar racing, and so we hate to see him gone. And so many of our heroes, they keep going, and we want to, you know, that's I love stuff like this. What we can do, if hopefully we can archive a little bit of history, whether it's somebody like Harry Hurst, who was on last week, or any of the guests we may have in the future, that we're archiving history and stuff that won't get lost. I mean, if I had it to do over, there are so many things that I would ask my grandmother that I forgot to ask
For
her,
sure.
you know, that I didn't care about when I was a kid. it, and history of your family and history of things. So it's wonderful to have these forums to be able to do that. So we'll hope to continue to do that, and that's my plea to get any of these famous drivers that we know or don't know on our show. But some other interesting news in the collector car hobby this past couple of weeks is we had mentioned, I think, last show, but Hagerty going public for $3.2 billion valuation is just unbelievable.
Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, didn't realize that it's funny. I've known about this company for 20-something years, and they've been a player in the classic car world. But the idea that the valuation was there, it is just unbelievable. And I was on their website just kind of snooping around after they've gone public to see how it changes, which it does, because there's a lot of stuff that has to be out there and forms and, these documents that are, there was one document that they had was 586 pages long that somebody had to go through and write, and then they have to sign off all these sheets that says, yes, we read it. You can't read 586 pages of legalese. That's crazy. So anyway, congratulations to Hagerty. Hagerty has gone to not only be just an insurance company, but they're buying up, they bought the Greenwich Concord Elegance, they bought the Amelia Island Concord Elegance, they bought the California Millet, which is a 10-day tour of California that you stay in all these fine places and tour with fantastic cars. So they're really becoming immersive into the collector car hobby. They have a price guide out that my dear friend Dave Kinney started many years ago, and took him into the Hagerty fold about, 10 or 12 years ago. We'll have Dave on the show one of these days. He's fascinating. He's a judge at the Concord Elegances, and he's all-around great car guy and a writer and all that good stuff. So we'll have him on the show and talk a little bit more about the price guide and valuation of cars. That's important, and we talk about that and have touched on that. The other thing was a big shakeup at RM Auctions this week. About 8 or 9 of the top executives and car specialists and 3 or 4 of the car specialists left and formed their own auction company.
Is that right?
Or I say auction company. I don't know that to be true. I mean, they're a car company that will be selling cars and client advising and auctions and all these different things. But it's interesting that, we get all the time that people ask us, about this hobby and about, why don't you start an auction or why don't you do this? Well, it's not as easy as it sounds. It's no different than starting this business that we started. I mean, everybody says to me, oh, how cool. You've got, you're in the classic car business. Well, yeah, but it's still a business. It still requires to take in more money than you spend. It still requires that there's somebody who's got to be telling you what to do, and you may not always agree with that person. That's i.e. me. and there's a lot to it. So yes, it's cool to say, yeah, we're in the classic car business, but it's also a very difficult business to be good at. And luckily for us is that we have a business that from a consignment basis where all our cars come in versus going out and purchasing these cars. I can't imagine having to go out and purchase enough cars to fill up this building because and you make mistakes. You buy a car and maybe you're desperate for inventory and you pay too much, or you buy one that you didn't thoroughly check out and all of a sudden there's a problem with it. The transmission's gone, or all these different things that can be a problem.
That's kind of what's happening in the dealership world too, is they're buying up inventory, not fully checking it out, and they're getting less than quality cars.
And they have a market for them because people are settling for less than quality cars because it's hard to get, it's hard to get cars. I mean, it's not just cars. It's everything that's difficult to get. I went and bought a computer yesterday, and it was difficult. It wasn't easy to get what I wanted. They were back-ordered and, on some, I don't know. I jokingly say they're on the ship out there, but we don't know that. We're just making that stuff up. We don't know enough about the supply chain.
As long as your computer's not waiting for a chip.
Yeah. Well, my computer has a chip, I think, because it turned on. Okay, so that's the most important part. Okay. But, it was something, speaking of computers, that's a funny segue. I was reading something the other day. This is really hilarious. That Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, never had a license plate on any of the cars he ever drove. So he would buy a car and drive it and never put a license plate on it, and very rarely ever got pulled over or stopped. And not because he was Steve Jobs. It's just, we get guys who buy cars from us here and they don't have a license plate with them. We don't issue temporary tags for classic cars. And they say, well, can I drive it home to Maryland? Well, I don't know. I don't know what a police officer might say to you. I would imagine the answer would be no, that you can't drive it home without,
right.
I mean, yes, you have a bill of sale that you bought it that day, but that doesn't change the fact that, you still need the legal way to get it home, and that would be with a license plate. So, but it's funny that reading about that with Steve Jobs and thinking that, what a rebel, just didn't care. He's just, I'm not going to get a license plate on my car and register the car. And I think what he did is he just traded the car every 6 months or whatever.
Probably.
Because they probably sent him a nasty letter that said, hey, you better get on this. And
he had a number of cool cars, though. I know that I saw one featured on some YouTube channels. I think one of those BMW Z8s.
The Z8, yeah. Those are great cars. Yeah. Came out in around 2001. They didn't, very limited production, V8 powered. They're a little roadster. They look like a grown-up Z3. Yeah, exactly. The Roadster, which is, a really iconic BMW car and has been for many, many, many years. But the Z8 was really cool, and it still is cool. And they command big dollars. They do. They bring a couple $100,000 plus in the used car market for a car that's now 20 years old, 2001. 20 years old. So interesting car. I wish we had one here because that would be my next car, although I really can't afford it. And,
I don't know how you control. You have first dibs on the cars that come in here. I don't know how you control yours.
It's very difficult because there's so many cars that I want. Now, and listen, the oddball stuff gets my attention. We got an E500 Mercedes sport wagon in, the black one. And, you don't see the E500s very often. It's the E320s or the 420s or whatever they are. But the E500 sport wagon, black, and it's really cool. And I need that car for no particular reason. I just need it because I need it. It's like.
What else did you get in this? What else did you get in this week?
Well, nice segue into that, Steve. Some other new inventory. We got a '93 Ford Bronco Eddie Bauer edition.
Nice.
Did you imagine that Eddie Bauer benefited greatly from that relationship with Ford? I mean, the brand.
The brand did.
Think about that. But this one is, '93. It's a full-time four-wheel drive. It's jewel green metallic. Interesting color name with light mocha interior.
Vintage SUVs are very hot right now.
Very hot right now, from international scouts to Broncos to we got the finest 57 Chevy 210 station wagon you have ever seen. Turquoise and white. It's just absolutely beautiful car with a little miniature car that goes with it. Not a pedal car, but a little electric type car that goes with it. But this thing is just a spectacular car. And anyway, the Eddie Bauer edition, Bronco 351 Windsor. It's a really great car. It's on our website now. We got a 73 Volkswagen Super Beetle in orange. Convertible. That's a great little car we got in. We got a Hellcat, a 2015 Hellcat with low miles on it. And then a beautiful blue, I don't know what the name of the color is, I can't remember, on the FJ40 Toyota Land Cruiser in 82. It's absolutely stunning.
Smoking hot cars right now.
And the level of restoration, it was just unbelievable of what they did. So when we get back and return after our little break, we're going to be speaking to, who's in our studio, by the way, Kendra Cook, the executive director of the Boyertown Museum of Antique Automobiles. And she will be here, and they're located just about 40 miles north of us, I think, in Boyertown, PA, and have a heavy focus on cars that were built in Pennsylvania. And we will talk to her about some interesting things going on there and how she got started in this business. And we are...
About 30 seconds, so if you wanted to do the four on the floor.
Well, we can do that. Let's absolutely do that. The four on the floor this week. We didn't get a winner from last week.
Okay.
X Causing Trouble, Fictional Road Hero, Go, 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 ended in the same year Elvis wore leather, and that turned it out to be the Speed Racer, stock number 2821.
The Corvette conversion into a Speed Racer.
Into a Speed Racer, so that was pretty awesome. And you were so, deft that nobody even got it, Steve.
Amazing.
So, we'll hope that somebody will get this week's. So this week's four on the floor, and the premise is that we're going to give you four clues, and then you email us, podcast@classicautomall.com, and tell us what you believe the car is. Stock number, year, make, and model, and it's a car that's in our inventory now. So the four clues are 7.5 liters. Second clue, share something with the Cannes Film Festival. How sophisticated am I? It would be 15 years before this model sold as many as it did the year of this car. I don't know. All right, let me read. And port and starboard for later models. So that's something nautical reference we'll have to figure out. So when we return, Kendra Cook from the Boyertown Museum of Historic Automobiles. And we are back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast, live from the Classic Auto Mall studio. I forgot the name of my own show. I need to quit. From the Classic Auto Mall studio in sunny, normally, downtown Morgantown, where we are just days away from our new casino opening up over here on the 22nd of December. How cool, aren't we? Just
wow.
And Kendra Cook is joining us from the Boyertown Museum of Historic Automobiles. And thank you so much, Kendra, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I finally came to your place, 3 weeks ago? When
yes.
you had the event?
Yep, November 6th.
I've only been here for 4 years, and it's only, is it 40 miles? Am I exactly?
Oh, it's not even that far. Not even that far.
So it took me 4 years to get out of my office and go up and see. And what an amazing place you have up there. I was really blown away. And I had my business partner is on the board up there as well, too, with our good friend Bob Dare as well, too, who's the executive something of that. And Bob's a great guy.
He's on our board as well.
Yeah, and he's great. He comes here all the time and snoops around and sees cars that he can't live without, and that's a wonderful thing. And but anyway, what a wonderful facility. And, you started out there, back in 2004? Was that?
Yeah.
It's just an intern, right?
Yeah,
oh, cool.
I was a volunteer.
I love that. Isn't it? So, so how did your progression go with the organization? You started out as an intern, just kind of helping out, and then how did it go from there?
Yeah, so I started as a volunteer. I was in college at the time, and I grew up actually very close to here, the Classic Auto Mall.
Oh, nice.
So I needed, to get my feet wet somewhere.
Right.
And that was a local museum. So I started volunteering there and went back to college, would come back and volunteer like on my breaks,
Sure.
or the summer. And then I was at the end of getting my master's degree, actually, when I saw that they were looking for a curator. So I applied and I got there.
How cool is that?
They still haven't kicked me out yet.
Careful what you wish for, right? And a curator's job is basically what? Just to oversee the collection?
Basically, yeah.
Research?
Research the collection. If someone wants to donate something, we kind of check it out, make sure it would fit, the mission that we're
Sure.
trying to fulfill there. Working on the exhibits as well, and all that fun stuff. The keeper of the stuff.
Right. And I love the historic part of it. I love doing research about finding out about a car. And I love it when I used to work for a guy, and he would buy a bunch of cars, classic cars, and bring them back to our place. And it was so fun to open the trunk and see what was in there. And oh my goodness, there's some great paperwork or documentation or whatever it may be. And Bob was telling me that just recently you guys got a new acquisition. There was a new car you've just recently gotten. Can you explain?
Yeah, we've gotten a few new things. Actually pretty recently. So I'm betting that Bob was probably talking about our new Terrain.
Yes.
Yes, it's a 1914. It's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. And it's enormous.
Right.
It's got a 134-inch wheelbase.
Wow.
So that's definitely a touring car right there.
Absolutely. The ultimate definition of touring car.
But Terrains were built in Philadelphia.
And for people, I don't want people to be confused. This is not the GMC Terrain. This is not that car.
No. Very different. It was built in Philadelphia. That's kind of our focus is things that were built in Pennsylvania. We really try to focus on that. Sure. And Terrains were built by the same company that built Vim trucks, and I do believe there is a Vim.
Yes.
Not too many feet away on the other side of this wall here.
I think it's about 30 feet away, and I think that Bob Dare and my partner have had many conversations about said Vim truck.
I would love that Vim to be.
Well, you never know. Never say never. It's kind of buried now. We've had to kind of rearrange our truck room here. It was really nicely laid out and really cool, and then we keep running out of space because we keep taking in so many consignments.
We know what that's like. We run out of space all the time.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. And so that is the focus of the Boyertown Museum is Pennsylvania built cars or Pennsylvania bodied cars, correct? Like Fleetwood.
Yep. We have we expand that to mean things like you said, coach work. Fleetwood. Bud, which was a Philadelphia company, Durham, which was Rosemont, Pennsylvania, also did luxury things. Even the museum itself is inside a former truck body factory plant. So,
cool.
Boyertown wasn't doing luxury car bodies, but they were doing the bodies for mostly delivery trucks, but also they did a lot of government and military things as well. But
seems to be a lot of truck body companies around here, even later model stuff, like Morgan Truck is here in town, and then there's Reading, the one up in Reading, and pretty interesting. But I really was impressed, or just thought was so cool, was the upstairs part of your museum with the blacksmith up there and those old wooden floors from, how old are those floors? Hundreds?
Yeah, so that building, it's an 1872 Carriage Factory. So that's in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. That building is where vehicle production began in town. Wow. And that was started by a gentleman, Jeremiah Swinehart. He was a cabinet maker. Right. And he decided he wanted to build carriages, so he started in that building. And he sold it about 10 years later to some employees, but they continued building carriages there all the way up until 1926, when three gentlemen came in and bought the Carriage Factory business, which had now expanded beyond that one room that's left, and they turned it into truck factory. And that was in operation until 1990. Wow. So, from 1872 all the way up to 1990 on our site, they were making vehicles, and that's astounding. And for whatever reason, they never tore down that original 1872 building.
How wonderful is that?
It's amazing.
You see so many things torn down over the years, and especially now we're doing better at preserving our history, but boy, we weren't doing such a good job of it in the 60s and the 70s. When we needed space, we just bulldozed stuff down and made space, and that's a shame because these historical buildings are so fun. They really are. I mean, that place is just, that upstairs at your place is just amazing with all those tools that you see that you've never seen before, with the actual, don't you have like an actual guy up there, blacksmith? No, that's not the proper term. Blacksmithing, is that? Yeah, so it's probably, I would say now, about once a month, since we returned from our pandemic closures. We were doing almost every Saturday. We're starting to ease back into it. So we've got usually about once a month a blacksmith up there. How cool. Demonstrating. Yeah. And does he answer questions from people and things like that?
Yeah, so we actually have, I think, 5 blacksmiths, and they rotate, and 4 men and a woman. Nice. And they're all very different. Right. So if you come one month and then you come the next month and it's a different blacksmith up there, you will hear something totally different because they all have different personalities, and that all really comes through. And
they don't make a living as blacksmiths anymore, right? Is this a hobby for them? Yeah,
it's mostly hobby or a craft they're learning.
Sure, sure. Kind of like metal fabricate. Well, that's still a thing that people do, like the English wheel and stuff. But it's amazing to see people that can work with their hands and create stuff like that.
I know. I'm jealous.
Yeah,
I can't
me
do
too.
That.
I'm not a creator. I'm not. I'm a guy who can just. I can do certain things, just not those. So, but it was really amazing, and I was really impressed with the whole setup up there, and the diversity of the cars, and the Duryea stuff is just amazing. That's just really really cool. We looked at having a building of the size that we have enough room to have barn finds in here, which is kind of our version of a museum, but we're running out of space for that. So, and you got to make a decision on, do I want to keep the barn finds, or do I can't turn down cars that people want to consign for us to sell for them. So maybe we'll have to start donating more to you guys.
What a shame.
That'd be terrible, right? We were moving the cars around yesterday, and it was so funny. There's about, 10 of our cars don't have rubber tires. They have solid tires. Yep. And my son thinks that would be the greatest invention ever, because he does not understand why we can't have solid tires. He doesn't realize that the ride would be a little bit rough.
Horrible.
Yeah. So have you gotten to, I'm sure you get to ride in some of these cars, or drive them even, right?
Yes, some of them do drive. We have the ones that I've driven the most are probably the electrics.
Right.
Yeah, we have some teens electrics.
That's what people don't realize.
Yeah, 19 teens.
And electric cars were not just invented for the Volt,
definitely
10, 15
not
years ago. Now, where all that goes, it's hard to say. I mean, we know that electric cars are not going away. I don't know if electric cars are going to replace gasoline cars in maybe not in my lifetime. I don't think, as much as they think that they will be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know obviously like the technology the past couple of years has really radically changed.
Sure.
For a long time, from the beginning up until, even the 80s, they were just shoving more batteries in them.
Yeah, exactly.
And now that's different. The new batteries are different. They charge quicker.
Sure.
We have a 1919 Milburn electric that runs on golf cart batteries.
No kidding. Now, it was different kind of batteries back in the day. It wasn't obviously
sure,
golf cart
but they're
batteries.
totally compatible with.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you also built a electric vehicle charging station outside of your museum, right?
Yes. So if you drive your electric car,
Right.
your Tesla or your Nissan Leaf or
Right.
your
Volt
or your Mustang
E
now, yes, we do have 6 charging stations.
Nice.
Right in our smaller parking lot. We have a huge parking lot, catty corner, but across the street we have a smaller one, and that's where the electric chargers are.
Fantastic. So when we get back, we'll continue our conversation with Kendra Cook, the executive director of the Boyertown Museum of Antique Automobiles, and we'll talk about the direction the museum is going in, and we'll talk about how it was founded and when they're open and where they're located and all that good fancy stuff. So when we return, we will talk about that then. And we are back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast, live from the Classic Auto Mall studio in beautiful downtown Morgantown, Pennsylvania, on a lovely Saturday morning if you're listening to us live, and if you're not, well, sorry. We're doing it anyway. So we're joined by Kendra Cook, the executive director of the Boyertown Museum of Historic Vehicles, and we have been talking about, we were talking about electric cars before we went on the break, and that you've got a charging station there, and electric cars built in Pennsylvania. There's the Milford. Was there more? Or?
So our Milburn. Yeah, unfortunately, it was not built in Pennsylvania. I know it is one of the outliers. It was built in Toledo, Ohio. However, one of the reasons we have it, and this is something you'll see in a lot of museums, is if you can't get an example that's really fits in your mission, like we'd love to have a Pennsylvania fancy car like that was electric of that era. We just haven't been able to locate one yet. Right. This is a good way, an example. It's part of the story of the history of transportation. But we do have 2 commercial trucks, which were electric trucks built in Philadelphia. One is, it started out as a laundry truck, actually, but now it was converted at one point to be a bus that a farmer used in West Reading to transport his workers around. Right. But then we also have a 1912 commercial truck flatbed, which the description of is, I don't even know how to describe it. I think there might be one here. Is there?
We have
a Curtis Publishing.
No, we don't.
Okay.
I think it's at our other place. We have the American Treasure Tour down.
Yes,
in,
that's
down in Oaks area, and we have another 100 barn finds down in that building as well too. That's a whole nother thing that you got to go check out if you've never seen the American Treasure Tour. It's crazy. Yes. It's one man's vision of something, but I don't know what is my partner. But it's neon signs. It's just a whole. It's band organs, little of that. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to describe. But it's funny that how people know about that place and know about our place and know about your place. I mean, the museum business is a tough business. It's hard enough. You can very rarely are you going to make enough money off admission to cover your expenses. So you always are fundraising, and that's it's a lot of work. It's just it just doesn't happen.
Yep.
And I think people have that assumption that when you go to these museums and you like what you see and you enjoy it and you have the wherewithal, you don't have to just pay the admission. You could become a member. You could donate money to them. There's a lot of different things, and I know you do things to raise money. You used to have a food truck thing in the parking lot. Is that going to happen again, or is it?
We actually kind of we did that for 5 years.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was that many years.
We stopped essentially because it was starting to go down. Attendance was starting to dip. It wasn't like a bad number yet,
right?
But we decided to just put it on hold. We didn't want it to get bad.
Right.
We wanted to go out on a good note.
Right.
And so we started to do a couple of different things to try, maybe one-time things. For instance, earlier this year we had a World War II exhibit in the lobby, vehicles from World War II. 3 of them built in our truck factory that we are in, which is cool. And we had documented evidence of, Rosie the Riveter's building the one piece that we had on display, which we thought was really cool. So we had a dedication one day for the exhibit of our Rosie the Riveter Rose Garden,
right?
Which is out in front of our office building, and we unveiled that, and that was really well attended.
Nice.
We had an electric vehicle show this past summer where we had a lot of modern day electrics, but then we had a couple of antiques that came out as well. We're going to try that again probably this summer and get more of the older electrics out.
Well, you can't tell the history of an American car or even a Pennsylvania car without including some other types of vehicles that maybe weren't built in America or weren't built in Pennsylvania. It's just kind of hard to tell that whole story.
Like a Model T.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, you almost got to have a Model T in any museum.
It's important.
It's
it
very
affected
important.
everybody else.
100%.
Yeah.
So we sell quite a few Model Ts and Model A's, and believe it or not, everybody thinks that the market's going to dry up on Model A's and that you won't be able to sell them anymore. But yet we still sell them just about as fast as we get them in.
It's a great classic, iconic car.
It really is. But the one thing that I'm not most interested, but one of the things I'm interested in is the diner that you have there. What an amazing.
Yes.
So tell me about this diner. I don't know a lot about it, but I know it's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It might be the most popular thing in the museum.
Right,
of all the cars and all the motorcycles and bicycles. Right. Yeah. So it's a 1938 Jerry O'Mahony diner. So Jerry O'Mahony is the brand,
right,
essentially. And Jerry O'Mahony was a company in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and they were, one of the top makers of diners of that era. And they would build the entire diner on site there in Elizabeth, New Jersey, and then it would be shipped to wherever it was going to operate. In the case of ours, that was in Exeter Township, Pennsylvania, so Berks County, PA, where we can get there in just 20 minutes if we want to get in the car, so very close by. So in 1938, it was shipped there. It operated kind of as you see it now in the museum for about 12 years. And then the owner picked it up, moved it to the other side of what is now Route 422, and built a restaurant around it.
Wow.
Like totally covered it. And that's probably what saved it, really.
From the elements.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And he operated that restaurant until, I think, 2003 it closed. And that was called Fagley's Family Restaurant. It's really well known locally. I still hear lots of people remember it, talk about it. They ate there.
Right.
And when he closed the restaurant, it was going to get demolished. It's a Rite Aid now. If you go up there, there's a Rite Aid sitting there. And another nonprofit group saved the 1938 diner inside. They, I got a crane and they lifted it out. Nice. And it moved to a neighboring town. It was going to be its own museum, and that just didn't work out for various reasons. And then they approached us about potentially taking it, and we did, and we put it back inside. We did do work on it. There are some things replaced, but a lot of that diner is original.
Wow.
The tiles are original.
Nice.
The counters, the stainless steel inside, the wood, all of that is original.
Right. What amazed me about the diner is most diners you see are basically all chrome or steel or whatever, and this has got a lot of wood in it.
Yes.
Really that dark, warm wood that it has.
Yeah, it's very Art Deco, and it predates that stainless steel craze, so it's just a really neat piece. It's so well preserved. It's just a great addition to our museum.
Sure.
And it's a great illustration of, a business that is really here because of the car.
Right.
We have diners because of the car, and now people are all of a sudden traveling farther from home in a chunk of time, and they're traveling at all hours of the day. So now they want to eat at maybe odd hours,
Right.
so these diners popped up and to service that new customer base.
Yeah, and because it was a whole new world. I mean, we built the interstate system, and then, we had all these roads, and people were traveling Route 66, where you could drive to, the West Coast, and it's funny. We ate at a diner when we came up to your place. So there's a diner right down the street from you guys.
Yes.
We didn't get the Eclairs though.
I know.
Apparently, they were not making the Eclairs anymore.
No, that is a hot topic in town.
Well, you can tell the size of town that you live in when the Eclairs are the hot topic. Although, kind of the same way with the little old Morgantown here as well too. I don't know what the hot topic is here this week, but it's usually something, and it's usually funny to watch. As there's social media groups that get on these rants about things, and it's really funny. And of course, with us now, I mean, we are feeling like a big city. I mean, we've got the Classic Auto Mall, which is this big facility. We've got the Holiday Inn. We've got our casino opening in 2 weeks. And then we've got Morgan Truck, as we talked about here. So interesting. And, what we hope is that museums like yours, because what you're doing is more relevant to the historical side of it than what we're doing here. I mean, we're a glorified used car lot here. And I say that half tongue-in-cheek because we have a lot of great cars here that become museum-ish. But what you guys are doing are preserving things and preserving a building that probably would be torn down right now if it wasn't for the Boyertown Museum.
I mean, this building, who knows? It's funny because, I grew up very close to here, and I remember shopping here when it was a mall. And when I first got here, it was like surreal.
Yeah, that's what people say.
I remember buying clothes here.
Clothes, and then it became
furniture.
Kimmons Wilson, the founder of Holiday Inn, built this place in 1985 and built the Holiday Inn, and it was a outlet mall before there was many outlet malls around.
Yes.
And then it became a furniture outlet mall.
Yes.
And we literally get people who come in here and go, "Where's the this lady yelled at me the other day, "Where's the furniture?" I'm like, "Well, we're not furniture anymore." "Well, I bought a couch here and I want to." "Okay, sorry."
When I moved out on my own, I bought my first piece of furniture here. $300 couch.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I remember that couch well.
What's funny is that repurposing buildings, whether it be for your museum or for what we're doing here, is such a wonderful thing because it's such a shame because if you were to tear this building down, there's nothing reusable really in here. It's not like you could recycle the tile on the floor or the wood, and I mean you just don't recycle hardly anything. It just becomes scrap and
what a waste.
It's what a waste. And to repurpose these buildings, and that's the problem when you build a building. And this is a lesson, kids, when you become wealthy and famous and build a building, is don't build it purpose-built. Build it where it's got multiple purposes. Because if your business goes sideways and doesn't work in it, and you've built it just for your business, then you're going to be in trouble because nobody else is going to want your building.
Exactly.
But what's funny now is we get calls from all over the country, people with malls going, "Hey, just want to know that we've got a mall here, and we'd like to." No, I think we're going to stick with our one for now.
One at a time.
One at a time. 336,000 square feet is big.
Yeah.
And now, how big is your building? How many vehicles are in the Boyertown Museum?
So I would say on display, we have right now about 90 cars, trucks, bicycles, carriages, wagons, plus a diner.
Right, plus a diner.
Plus a gas station as well from the 20s. Yeah. We do have a few other buildings that are for storage. And most of those, too, were also part of the Boyertown Auto Body Works.
Right.
So, the old paint building is our storage building. Right. And the old office building is our offices and coming soon, hopefully, a library. So we are trying to, use the buildings that were once part of that whole campus.
And do people donate cars to you all, other than cars that you might need, maybe cars to resell or to raise money for the museum, or is it mostly
once in a while? Yeah. Most things that are donated, we are for display or for our
specific
telling
purpose,
the story of Pennsylvania's history. But once in a while, we do get pieces that the people know that they don't necessarily fit there.
Sure,
and they hope that we can, if we do sell something, a vehicle, that money goes right back to buying something that does fit our collection. We don't use that to pay the electric bill or something.
Sure, you use it specifically for that. Well, I know a great company that sells cars. So if you ever so, if you ever need to liquidate anything, Classic Auto Mall is right here for you. So, but it's one of those things that. So you want our Vim, we know that. What else are you looking for?
What's
on your wish list?
here, and it does not fit our museum, but it's right up my alley. I think we talked about it before, is that Chevy modified camper.
Isn't that crazy?
I absolutely love that thing.
Yeah.
That is my kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. And actually, the museum has a TV show, monthly TV show, which we just had this week. And my topic was a Winton chassis, a 1917 Winton chassis. And this turn-of-the-century Pennsylvania politician he built like a custom house car on the back, and it had a stage in the back for him to give his stump speeches. He was with the Prohibition Party.
Right.
He ran for Pennsylvania governor. So that whole thing, this customizing that's right up my alley. So that Chevy is on top of my list.
So that's the largest piece in our building, and that's the most popular piece in our building, which is funny. And it's a 1923 Weidman Chevrolet camper, and it's really cool.
It's amazing.
And it's got a seat that's been eaten by mice, and there's foam everywhere, and people say, you should fix that. I'm not touching it. I'm leaving it exactly the way it is.
I agree.
So,
well done.
Yes,
I agree.
We're not going to mess with it. So the Boyertown Museum, what's your website?
BoyertownMuseum.org.
And you're open Monday through Saturday, 9
We're open 7 days a week.
7 days a week. Oh, well, we're not.
Well, when you're not open Sunday, come see us.
And we close at noon on Saturday, so
you would still have time.
You still got time to go
get to the museum and visit.
Yeah, and admission is reasonable. It's $10, I think.
$10 adults, $9 senior citizens, and if you have kids 15 and under, the kids are free.
Do you have the same rule we have about kids? Don't touch.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Please do not touch.
Please do not touch.
This stuff is really old.
And fragile,
yes.
like I am. Kendra, what a pleasure to have you on
Thank
today.
you.
We really appreciate your time. And go check out the Boyertown Museum when you get a chance, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. We are back with the Classic Auto Mall podcast. And thank you to Kendra Cook for being on the show. Fantastic guest and great organization they've got up there. And go see it if you get a chance. Please do. It's a wonderful museum, and it's fascinating. They've got interesting things that you wouldn't expect to see that you will see there. So we did our 4 on the Floor, which is our weekly trivia contest that we do, and we kind of rush through it. So let's try it one more time so we at least get it, so people can get a fighting chance to guess it and win either a hat or a T-shirt. You'll email us if you know the answer at podcast@classicautomall.com. And basically we're going to give you 4 clues, and this is a specific car with a stock number, year, make, and model we need of the car that's in our inventory currently. And if we sell it between now and when you figure it out, I don't know what to tell you. So the 4 clues are, clue number 1 is it's 7.5 liters. Clue number 2 shares something with the Cannes Film Festival. Am I saying that right?
I think it's Cannes.
Is it Cannes? C-A-N?
I've heard it both ways.
Cannes, potato,
the one in France.
Tomato, Caribbean. Okay, see, that's how we get sidetracked. 7.5 liters is the first clue. Second clue shares something with the Cannes Film Fest. I think it is Cannes Film Festival. It would be 15 years before this model sold as many as it did the year of this car. Okay.
Sorry.
Wow, that's long-winded.
Yep.
And then port and starboard for later models.
Interesting.
So I do know that's a nautical reference. So, it's not my first rodeo. So anyway, those are the ones those are our clues for this week. If you know the answer, podcast at Classic Auto Mall, and I'll send you a hat or a T-shirt. Just tell me what size you want and your mailing address so we can get it. And if there's more than one correct answer, we'll draw out of a hat to see who the winner is. Otherwise, if there's one correct answer, then that person is the winner. And you can win. I don't care. You can win every week. I don't care. If a guy wins 52 T-shirts or 52 hats, then so be it.
Okay.
I'll see it as his garage sale with Classic Auto Mall hats for sale.
But definitely put a submission in, check out the inventory and then write us at podcast@classicautomall.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And even if you get it wrong, we won't ridicule you on air or anything like that. So one of the things we were talking about last week was the daily driven classics, that we have here because it's difficult to buy cars now. So you're having a tough time finding a new car out there. Even used car inventory is very, very difficult. And we thought, light bulb, we have a bunch of vehicles in Classic Auto Mall that would qualify as a daily driver. We're not just, and they're usually special interest or something. They're an M3 BMW, or there's the Bronco that we talked about earlier would make a daily driver, and maybe the gas mileage might be a little bit painful, but there's quite a few of them that we do have. We've got some later model Cadillacs from the 90s 90s that are low mileage that could substitute, if necessary, as a daily driver. And, if your commute's not too terribly long, if you're commuting 10 or 15 miles, then, if it doesn't get as good a gas mileage, it's not the end of the world. It's not as critical as if you're driving all the way to Harrisburg every day or further. But we've got a Lexus SC430, which is a very cool car. It's white with a cognac interior.
Yeah, I'm going to feature that one on TikTok and Instagram pretty soon. The interior of that car is spectacular.
Yeah, it really is beautiful, and I love that cognac color on those with the white exterior. And for those of you who don't know what TikTok is, it's another social media thing that we've gotten roped into somehow by our government. No.
What?
They're forcing us to do all these things. No, it's it's kind of a younger generational thing, but it's starting to pick up a lot of steam. This TikTok is that sounds like I sound like my dad. This TikTok
get
thing.
off my lawn.
Get off my lawn and slow down.
Yeah.
And it's picking up a lot of steam because it's short little video vignettes, if you will, that can be anything. You can be you dancing. It can be a car. It can be whatever you choose. And there's so many ones that have become so popular, like YouTube things that have just become so popular.
TikTok is endlessly entertaining. I often will sit down to watch TV, turn off the television, and just sit through TikToks. And it puts me to sleep. I mean, that's what I watched last at night. And now we're on it here at Classic Auto Mall, and I'm featuring 4 on the Floor competition or the trivia contest, and also the daily drivers, and then feature cars. So we'll pick one car that's on consignment and feature that one as well.
And thank goodness that somebody else is doing all that, not me, because I got too much to do already.
I love it.
Yeah, and Steve's enjoying it, so we'll let him keep doing that. So some of the other ones that we have that are good daily driver-ish, we've got a Chrysler Crossfire, and we sell quite a few of those. Those are collectible, but just cool. They're kind of, I don't know, they're hybrid when it comes to that. They're sort of collectible and they're sort of daily driver, but a lot of us have a fond place in our heart for Chrysler Crossfires. They're cool. They were built on a Mercedes platform. They have a really iconic look to them. They made them in convertible or in coupe, and they were just neat cars. And so they're like the later model T-Birds, the 2003. What year were those? 2001.
Yeah, early 2000s, and you can totally daily drive one of these Crossfires. I mean,
absolutely, and talk about good gas mileage. I mean, that one they definitely have great gas mileage. So certainly one of those things that you don't discount our website when you think about a daily driver or something that you need to get to work. And we have reasonable cars. People think that all of our cars are high dollar cars and expensive, and that's not the case. We have some very inexpensive. We have some $5,000 and $10,000 cars, and so it's not all the high end stuff. Now, yes, we do have, as you can see across the way here, so $1 million Cobra and a high dollar Hemi Challenger and some other cars.
Lister Jaguar.
Lister Jag, and aluminum body.
Not a daily driver.
Not a daily driver, yeah. You do not want to drive that on a daily basis. It's a little bit awkward, and I don't think it has a top, so, inclement weather could be.
But you got the coolest thing, and we're going to feature it on social media, but it's like a race car bodied, but it's street legal. Yeah. It looks like a 962 Porsche, but it's street legal.
It's so cool.
I'm making a bid on that one.
Yeah. Well, it'll be your bonus this year. If this all, if TikTok gets to whatever, I don't know what number it has to be.
A million would be good.
A million wouldn't be bad, right? What do the best TikToks get? How many? Ethan, do they?
20 million.
A lot.
Seven figures.
Yeah, it's the 9-figure in views.
Right. That's crazy, isn't it?
Maybe if we get 9-figure in views, we'll get that Porsche.
Yeah, we got to get that for Dad. It would be it would be befitting of your position here.
Thank you.
So, we've gotten some great cars in, and more cars rolling in, and we're getting to. Oh man, they're just coming in so fast. I mean, we said 120 consignments in October, 126 in November. We're at 46 10 days into this month.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the cars just keep coming in. And days like today, when it's a little drizzly outside, usually slows down the more consignments coming in. What happens is that we sell every day, but the consignments are usually dictated by weather, because a lot of people bring them from a fairly close distance in an open trailer or drive them. And so we don't see as many consignments come in on weather days and things like that. But the sales keep happening, just like when we went through COVID. as we said last week when we closed the doors, we thought, well, this was fun, and, I guess we got to find a new way to make a living. And Kathy said, what's that? And I said, why, that's the phone ringing. And she said, and what's that? And I said, that's the other line ringing. And it just kept ringing, and we kept selling. We weren't consigning anything. But we had 600 and something cars in inventory, so it allowed us to continue to sell. And we got down to about 450, and now we're punching close to 700 now that consignment inventory.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So you withdrew your application at the casino?
As the croupier? Yeah. I don't even know what a croupier is. I don't know any of this stuff. I like video poker. That's all I know. And I don't play blackjack. And the reason I don't play blackjack is because I don't want the guy next to me telling me I took his card. I don't know what card is yours and what card is mine. I have a gut feeling about this card, and I'm taking it. And I know I'm not supposed to hit on 12 when you've got 17 showing, but I don't care. But then you get the guy who yells at you, and I don't want to be yelled at when I'm gambling. This is supposed to be fun.
Right.
So anyway, we hope to be doing some fun things with the casino, and we're excited to welcome them to our little community, Morgantown here, the next bedroom community out of Pennsylvania, or out of Philadelphia, because Exton and Downingtown are quite grown up and big neighbors of ours and big brothers of ours, if you will. But it's almost like Harrisburg and Philadelphia are going to connect someday.
I think they're going to need more hotels here, because the casino is not a casino hotel. It's just a casino, and you have one little Holiday Inn, which is great place.
Don't belittle our little Holiday Inn.
We
got 188 rooms.
It's going to be gone.
I think it's going to be full all the time. I mean, and if you think about it, 188 rooms. If you've got travelers coming down the interstate that aren't gambling, that will stop in here, and you got people that have regularly come here, and you got family members visiting that don't have enough room in their house, and they send people. All of a sudden, we're sold out every night.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the Holiday Inn in Grantville that's next to the casino that they have down there, and it's busy almost it's like busy all the time.
Mm.
So I think that it'll be interesting times to see what happens. We're praying for restaurants. We're just desperate for restaurants, and they're actually going to have 3 in the casino, and that'll help a lot. But we are desperate because it's a chore to figure out what to eat every day around here.
They did a sort of a job fair there.
Right.
They needed to fill 600 spots, but there's only 700 people in Morgantown. So is everybody in Morgantown now a casino employee?
Oh, I'm telling you, I really am a croupier. I was just kidding. That's my part-time job. And as difficult it is to find help these days. I mean, how did they fill 600 jobs? I mean, it must have been, they probably, I would imagine that they pay pretty well. I imagine they can afford to pay pretty well. And so hopefully that's how they did it. And hopefully they found a lot of good people, and that they're not struggling like everybody else to find more help. But we missed some things to talk about this week, but we've got the F1 finale coming up tomorrow. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are battling it out. They're tied in points. In the last race of the season, they're exactly tied. So it's like a new race to start for one last race, and it's going to be in Abu Dhabi, which I like to go to the Ferrari World over there. They have a Ferrari World theme park in Abu Dhabi. Are those my children? My children are older than that.
I don't think the mic's picking them up.
Oh, goodness. So then people just think I'm hearing things. Fantastic. But yeah, Red Bull, Max Verstappen is their driver, who's the young hotshot, and he's come along, and Lewis Hamilton is gunning for his 8th world title in Formula One. And if you don't watch Formula One, it is just unbelievable, the technology that they have in these cars. Their pit stops. Red Bull has a record for the pit stop, 1.8 seconds. That's changing tires, adding something, and doing this and that. And, in a NASCAR stop, it might be 7 seconds that they do. Of course, NASCAR limits how many people can go over the wall. Formula One, I think it's unlimited. If you've got 50 guys, then they can all be over the wall fixing the car. And so it's just crazy. 1.8 seconds. And then most of them average about 2.4 seconds. So
unbelievable.
So pretty fantastic. So watch that. It's 8 o'clock in the morning for those of you who want to get up and watch the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix tomorrow. And next week our guest on our show is I have no idea,
all right,
which is usually what I tell everybody because I don't really know who's going to be here. But we hope to have somebody interesting and fun like Kendra was today. Mm-hmm. And we hope to see you again next week. Steve, take it away.
We appreciate your listening to our show today, and don't forget, when you're in southeastern Pennsylvania, come visit us in person. We're open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Wednesday is our late day, and we're here from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturdays we're open from 9 a.m. to noon, and we are closed on Sundays. You can reach us by telephone at 888-227-0914 or via email at info@classicautomall.com. To reach the show, email us at podcast@classicautomall.com. The Classic Auto Mall podcast is produced by Car Smarts Media. Theme song by the Pat Travers Band.